Welcome to Manning Up with our hostess. I shouldn't say hostess, you're the host because there's no sexual determination. Deborah
Whatever.
Manning and
Whatever.
the co-host, myself, Malcolm Berman, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com, a new, actually not new, it's about 2 years old, but we just redid the website
Which looks fabulous.
called malcolmpresents.com, heard nationally, internationally, and beyond the universe. Where it goes, we do not know. If anybody out there is flying in spaceships and you can hear this broadcast, please let us know. Go to malcolmberman@gmail.com. Again, Malcolm Berman, Burman, @gmail.com, and let me know that you hear this broadcast. Well,
You've
I don't
got
know,
the
it's
bases
podcast.
all covered. That's perfect.
Anyway, today's we delayed this. Well, we didn't delay a show. Now it's Saturday instead of Friday
Yep.
because I had to do physical therapy
Ooh.
yesterday
Yeah.
for
How'd it
them to
go?
tell me what I knew all along.
Yeah.
Getting old.
Oh, for crying out loud. You're just getting started.
Yeah.
This is baloney. Stop listening to these people. Stop it.
But anyway, this weekend, I'm going over my absentee. I don't know if it's an absentee ballot. I think for whatever reason, it's not being picked up.
Yep.
Uh, and our big race over here is for the Democratic primary.
Mm-hmm.
And the big race over here basically is for the senator what was her name? Diana
Diane Feinstein. She
Feinstein,
passed away.
retired after about 107 years.
Yeah.
And the two big candidates are, let me get it, the official ballot is the two Democratic candidates that are going head and head for the spot, the primary. By the way, the primary is the first uh, two, the top two vote getters
Mm-hmm.
get to run. So I mean, I'm voting for. Let's see, let me go down. Adam B. Schiff, which you don't
Oh.
particularly like because you think he's a liar. But I think, but I don't know what he's lying about. I think we talked about earlier, a little earlier before the show, that about the Russian collusion, and I don't necessarily believe the dossier uh, that's happening. They did the impeachment about, but just by the actions that he did. And one of the biggest things is that his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was financed by the Chicago bank, Deutsche Bank, out of Chicago. And the biggest investors of the Deutsche Bank are basically the Russian oligarchy. And
Well,
he was
you and
turned
I
down.
you and I disagree on a number of different things. By the way, I'm Deborah Manning. I'm a former news reporter and also used to be a banker with Bank of America and some of the largest banks here in the country after I decided to leave the news business. The problem that I have and the issue that I have with Adam Schiff is he said that he had incontrovertible evidence of Russian collusion tied to Donald Trump. And he went out and he talked about this for a year and a half to 2 years. My question is, what evidence did he have? If he had some evidence, would you please produce it so that we, as American people, can make a decision as to what the devil is going on? And once again, he completely ignored it, ignored us. And I just don't think that's fair that you would go out and spout this sort of stuff saying, I have evidence of wrongdoing and not actually show it so that people can make a decision.
Okay, I have a question which is a little off from that.
Sure.
Do the Republican Party have evidence that they could prove that the election was fixed and Joe Biden is not the rightful president of the United States? Do they
Well,
have the proof?
but you and I have talked about this, and as a former news reporter, and once again, I go with my training. Certainly, the conspiracy theories are abounding, but once again, you do need to have evidence, solid evidence that malfeasance took place. And at this point, we have bits and pieces that malfeasance took place, but certainly not enough to be able to overturn the election. So sorry for all of my Republican friends who happen to be watching. I'm sorry. I call it
Well,
the
I'm not
way I
talking
see it.
about your Republican friends. I'm talking more about the Republicans who are running for office and the Republican that is running for the presidency. Trump has not rescinded that it was he's the actual rightful president of the United States, and many of the mainline Republicans are going with him. They're all expounding the fact that it was a fixed election. So
Well,
therefore, you can't trust anybody.
I haven't really heard that as being as being a theme per se. What I have heard as a theme is that there needs to be a change because what's happened in the last 3.5 years is a direct about face for America. And for example, let's talk about the murder of the young girl in Athens, Georgia. Athens, Georgia is fairly close to Greenville, South Carolina, where I am right now. And I guess the problem that I really truly have is there has not really been any mass media coverage of the murder. And especially the president of the United States has not taken the time to call the parents of this young girl who was bludgeoned to death, an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, has been arrested and charged with her murder. And it wasn't just a murder. Apparently, he took the time to crush her skull so that you could not even recognize her. That sort of barbarity has got to stop. And one of the issues I think at this point right now is the border problem because both
Yeah,
President Biden and Trump have went down to the border and talked about it. But I think the real key to all of this is when you have an open border, Malcolm, you allow not only good migrants through, but bad migrants through. Those migrants are following the good migrants and
time,
they're
yeah,
making it.
time out for a minute. I don't think either parties are advocating for an open border. But the thing is, right now, there's no, I don't know if you call it due process, but there is no way of legitimate immigrants who want to come in this country justly, who are running away either from poverty or some sort of danger in their own country, to get processed. That I
Well,
mean, and it's part of
when you
both. It's part of both parties.
but when you overload the system whereby you literally do not have people coming through the ports of entry and you allow people to come through other places, not through the ports of entry. I mean, that just begs the question.
Yeah.
You and I know, Malcolm, you and I know, for heaven's sakes, when President Biden came in, he rescinded all of the Trump era border control
The,
laws and rules and what
the,
have you.
the Trump border control, basically what happened is that there were millions of people on the Mexican border who were starving and being uh, or being abused. Let's just take this as not only the United States, a humanitarian problem. And the thing is, again, I give a plague on both parties. It's not a Democratic problem. It's not a Republican party. It's not even a presidential uh, a question. It's a matter of they can't not get together to do any legislation. And
Well, I must
it's been 40 years
I
since they
understand
had.
that, but I must say we did not have the flood of people coming across the northern border as well as the southern border 3.5 years ago. We did not have that flood. You must admit that fact.
We're right. It's let them die in Mexico.
Well, I don't think that that was exactly what happened. What's happening now is that we have an open door policy, and
Well,
all of the
we don't have an open door policy. They are arrested, but they're not necessarily thrown back. They were arrested
well,
and they're
you
giving
realize
dates.
you realize that Venezuela at this point says if you catch any of our Venezuela criminals,
We don't
we're
want
not
them.
going to accept them back. You can't deport them back to Venezuela.
Right.
Now, common logic seems to me that if that's the case, I mean, somebody's pulling the wool over our eyes,
Well,
Malcolm.
the question is, it's a problem. I agree with you, and I mean, right now the Congress had or the House had a bill,
HR2, yes.
HR1, which was basically without it didn't have anything thing for money for Gaza or for Israel or for Taiwan. I think the first one was a combination. It was this matter of the control of the border, which is not being voted upon. It's not, it was turned down. It's not even being up for a vote
That's right. Chuck
for the,
Schumer has said that
for the
he won't even
Republicans.
bring it up for a
So
vote.
what are they afraid of?
Well, what is Chucky afraid of?
No, well, no, the Senate passed it.
No, the
It's a
Senate
Senate.
didn't pass it.
Oh, yes,
What
it
I'm
did.
saying is HR2,
No,
they
no, HR,
completely
I believe,
HR HR2 was a standalone bill that said protect our border
I,
and make it so that you cannot have vicious criminals coming through the border on a
well, you
regular
never
basis.
could have vicious criminal, but anyway, I think it's HR one, which was basically
Yes, and
the,
that tied Ukraine aid, Taiwan aid,
okay. So HR two was the
aid.
one that didn't do Ukraine, and that I know that was passed by the Democrats because it was also
HR2 was not passed by the Democrats.
one of them was passed
Mhm.
that didn't have money connected to Ukraine or
Well,
Israel.
I
It,
I
by
must
the way,
I must say it would be nice if we could have individual bills for individual areas and subjects. That would be kind of a nice change of
yeah,
pace.
well, I think they have it, but I know one of them was not even given the chance to be voted on by the House. And if the House controls the majority of it, what are they afraid of?
Well, let me tell you, people are getting fed up. And I think this Lake and Riley death, the murder, is going to be, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the bellwether. It's just a crime, a shame, a horrible situation that a young woman, age 22, off for a morning jog, was
I
attacked and murdered.
I agree.
But the problem that I have too is the news media is actually, and I saw this from Associated Press, and the headline was talking about the fact that young women such as Lakin should never have been out there jogging by herself.
Well, that's
Now, what
ridiculous.
the devil does that mean?
Yeah. Well,
Excuse me,
yeah,
that's absurd.
but that's not new. Remember, just before I left New York, or around the time I left New York, there were four black kids that were convicted of attacking a runner in Central Park.
Yeah.
I mean, this is nothing new. It has nothing to do with immigration. It has nothing to do with illegal aliens. It happens, and I used to run Central Park, like early in the morning. And sometimes I would do one tour. Actually, it was the Hollywood Reservoir, I moved to Hollywood, so I did the Hollywood Reservoir also. I used to do the
Yeah.
Central Park Reservoir sometimes if I
Yeah.
got home late,
Yeah.
about 11, 12 o'clock
Mhm.
at night.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful because you had the buildings in the background. And it was
Mhm.
like, I think a 3.2 miles, one time around. And you saw the buildings in the background and the reflection in the reservoir. And it was beautiful, but people were afraid to do it. I mean, I was
Gee,
young and
I
stupid.
wonder why. I
I,
wonder
I was
why.
young and stupid because I figured no one's gonna, well, number one, I didn't feel that there was a gay person who wanted to rape me. And I never carried money, and
Yeah.
I kept my keys underneath the mat in the house, so I didn't have anything. So
There you go.
what were they going to mug me for? Because I was wearing a Star of David? In today's day is possible. But
Maybe.
anyway,
Maybe.
what we started as talking about. Well, again, now I don't know how many people do absentee ballots, but now I don't even have to request it. I get it automatically because I guess I've been doing it years. And
And you're not going to vote for Steve Garvey, huh? How come?
no, because I know he's a great baseball player, but he hasn't done anything as far as I know in politics. And
Well,
he's
actually, I must call you on this, Malcolm. I
uh,
think that you have said in the past that you would prefer people who had not done politics, that they were plain ordinary people. Now, he's not an ordinary person per se, but I've listened to some of his politics and he does have some common sense ideas. In fact, ideas that you and I have talked about here on the air.
well, but the thing is, he's also voted twice for Trump.
Oh,
And that
what? Why? And I
and
got
he
to ask
admitted
you
to
this.
it.
Why, why, why do you hate Donald Trump so much? How? Why?
Well,
I don't get it.
okay, because it's funny because I'm a Jew from New York, and there were
Here, here.
stories when I was in New York there were always stories how Donald Trump and his dad, at the beginning when they were had the housing, were very prejudiced against Jews and blacks and children. I don't know about children, but Jews and blacks definitely. And I followed Trump not as a politician, but as a businessman, and he has more failed businesses, and he used and abused the system. Anyone else I know, he's the only person that I've heard of that can buy a casino in Atlantic City and go bust. And what he's
Well,
and
well,
what he's
my
yeah,
question is in terms of let's go back to the two candidates because it looks like it will be the two candidates will be Biden and will be Trump.
yeah.
What are the things that you really, and I mean this sincerely, you and I have been friends for a long period of time, and I respect you and I respect your opinion. Okay. What is it about President Biden that attracts you so much? What are the benefits of voting for President Biden?
Well, the benefits of voting for President Biden
Mhm.
is that number one, he doesn't insult people.
You must be
Trump.
no way, honestly, he doesn't insult people.
No,
Wait a minute, hold it, hold it, hold
no,
it. Oh, that's right. Yesterday, he called people who don't believe in climate change Neanderthals. Is that calling somebody a name?
no, but that's true.
It's not. It's name calling
No,
again.
they are Neanderthals because there is climate change. The question is, what is the cause of climate change?
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So President Biden does not call people names.
And no, okay.
Go ahead.
Trump denigrates and makes fun of people that are opposing him, and he
I
gives them nicknames,
I
and he
see.
doesn't respect people.
Okay,
Number
so
two,
Neanderthal is actually a very
well,
nice name to call
well, it's
somebody.
not, but
Okay,
it's not what he in the same respect that Trump calls people.
I see.
Number two, I don't like his policies. His policies was all
No, no, no. I'm talking about the positive things about Biden. What attracts you to vote for Biden? And why would
Biden,
you like to have another 4 years?
Biden knows how to deal with foreign countries, and he knows how to respect them. Trump
Wait a
doesn't.
minute. Hold hold it. We had a horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan. We left
Yes.
$81 billion worth of weapons and equipment.
No,
We
yeah,
lost a major air place. We now have a war in the Ukraine with Russia. We
but that
now have
was,
the
but,
Israeli-Gaza situation. So he
but
knows how to talk with people.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that's the blame. He has to deal with them. That's the job of a president, and I wouldn't want to be president
Okay. So
because
he knows how to talk. He knows how to talk with people. What else?
I think the number two. I don't think we should withdraw from NATO, which Trump advises. No matter how much.
He's not going to withdraw from
No,
NATO.
yeah, well, like yeah, you
He's
said
not going to withdraw
or
from
like
NATO.
you said, he would admit that Trump would be president, and that it
He's
was a
not
fair
going to withdraw
election.
from NATO. But go ahead. What else?
And he's the one that also squashed the foreign aid to Ukraine.
Well, no, what else? What else positive stuff about Biden?
Um, he's a Democrat, and he believes in the democratic policies, and he does believe in climate change. He does believe in uh, that we could do something about it with the reduction of fossil fuel. And you may not agree with it, or the deniers of climate change may not agree with it. And I know a lot of people who aren't. But when you have like 80% of the scientists, agree with it, and they say that we may not stop it, but we could slow it.
So
And
my last question would
yeah,
be, so how has your life become better under Biden specifically? How has it become better under Biden?
how's it becoming? Well, it hasn't become worse. It became worse under Trump. And
No, no, no,
remember,
but better under Biden. Let's
no,
how's it better?
remember this: the
Okay.
new president always inherits what the old president did.
Yeah, but he's had, come on, Malcolm, he's had 3.5 years to do something about this. So what are the benefits to you and your family?
Uh, we haven't been in a major war.
We're about
We have
ready to go into major wars, but go ahead.
uh, Prices are coming down.
Oh,
You got
yeah,
to,
okay, they're up 30% according to AP, and of
but it's
course,
coming
consumer price
down. But
index. But go ahead.
in fact, the last this month it was like 2.5% inflation rate, or two
Yeah,
point.
2.5% per month times 12 months is 24%.
Right, but they want to go. I don't know, but they counted 2% would be the goal,
Mhm.
and the gas has come down, and we're big producers of gas, even though we stopped certain.
What is your gas price in California?
I haven't been driving probably like close to 4 and change, and
Yeah,
I
it's
know in New York it was 3 and change.
yeah. So we're
But
up
that,
at
that,
I
that,
understand we're up over
that, that,
$5 in
that
California.
has a lot to do. That's not necessarily under the control of the presidency,
Well,
and
honestly, when you stop the ability of oil companies to be able to drill and what have you as part of a climate change referendum, it obviously would have
yeah,
something bad.
I think maybe some people we have to suffer a little bit to do
Wait,
the
wait,
end.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Who has to suffer? You mean the middle class like us have to suffer? Because certainly not the upper classes are
The upper
not
class doesn't
suffering.
suffer from anything, but
They don't suffer.
no, the upper class doesn't suffer from anything. I mean, they're if you have $2 billion and you lose $1 billion, big deal.
Mhm.
But uh, I think in general, overall things, not that in essence, I don't think necessarily Biden is the best choice. I mean,
Who
and
would
it's not
who would
necessarily
you
for
like
what he did.
who
It's
would
not,
you like to see? How about you want to see Gavin Newsom in
I'm not
control?
sure because no one has really, shown themselves. But the ridiculous thing that the Republicans have been doing, even the nomination of who is it, Mike Johnson,
Mhm.
and when they asked him how you're going to run the government, he said, "Simple, read the Bible."
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I frankly, I never heard that quote, but that's
yeah,
okay.
the religious right is taking over. I
It
mean, you
is
get
not taking
yeah,
over. Would you
you
stop listening to MSNBC and
well, no,
CNN?
no, I don't
Come on.
have to. Alabama just said that frozen embryos are children.
That's
I'm not
one
gonna,
state.
I'm not,
That is
I'm not gonna
one
make any
state. That's
statement
one
about that.
state.
The Supreme Court knocked down Roe v. Wade.
And it gives us a chance for 50 states
Yeah,
to be able to make
but
their
a lot of
own
these,
decisions.
but how about the 50 states that don't, the 20 states that outlaw abortion? How about
So so
the
so you can't get on an airplane and go to California?
not if you don't have any money.
Well, Planned Parenthood, I understand, gives free tickets to anybody who
Yeah,
needs an
but
abortion
but
to go to
but
California,
remember
New
they want to
York,
knock
any
they want to
place.
knock out Planned Parenthood. They want to knock out sex education in schools.
Well,
They want to they have the pill that they have supposedly, which is like I don't know, it's a birth control pill.
morning
Yeah,
after pill.
morning after pill, which they're trying to outlaw. They're trying
Yeah.
to make federal legislation to outlaw abortion.
Well, guess
Who
what?
is this?
Guess what? That's all propaganda.
No,
It's
it's
all
not.
it's all fear-mongering.
I hear the various senators and Congress people interviewed on TV, and it's
Well,
in God we trust.
well,
You
as I
know,
say, when we started this podcast of manning up, we're also talking about personal responsibility. We're talking about personal responsibility when it comes to your sexual activity, personal responsibility.
so,
How long have we had birth control pills? How long have we had the condom? Geez,
we're
long
right.
period.
Excuse me. Screw the people who don't do that and let them have babies and unwanted babies. The
No, I'm
thing
not
that
saying that, but there's lots of resources that are out there, Malcolm,
yeah, but
and
they're
I'm
trying.
and I'm and I'm happy to see that Roe v. Wade was overturned because now it allows the individual states and those people of the individual states to make their own decisions.
Right, but the question is, they hadn't been able to make their own decisions. If they wanted to have the baby, nobody forced them to have an abortion. And if they didn't want to have the baby, they had the choice of making an abortion. It's pro-choice. It's not pro-life. It was pro-choice. If as you, I think, have a personal experience, if you
Yep.
chose, you were able to do it. If you didn't want to do it, no one was forcing you. I
Mhm,
know when my wife was pregnant
mhm.
and the first child, and we went to the doctor for the sonogram. and I saw the baby there.
Yeah.
To me, it was a lie, but that's my choice to make.
That must
It
have been
was
something, Malcolm.
it wasn't the state saying, you can't, if for whatever reason, if a person wants an abortion, they can't say, you can't have it. So having an anti-abortion law is not really pro-choice. It's not leading the people who want it. And a lot of the people, it's a saying, like life is unequal.
Of
Not
course.
everybody, not everybody is born smart.
Of
Not
course.
everybody is born with the responsibility that you feel that you have and have the choices. I mean, I'm sad that I wasn't rich. I was born to, a
My
middle
dear,
class family.
my dear, you're wealthy.
Mm.
You are wealthy.
No, I know that, but being saying not all men are created equal.
Mhm.
I mean, some people have, I go into the basketball court when I play basketball, and I saw like Will Chamberlain or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'm not 7'2". I don't have, I don't have the reflexes that
Mhm.
Kobe Bryant had. I don't have the reflexes that could shoot that way. That was nature. That was unfair for me not to do that. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth like Trump was, where my father gave me $5 million to start a business.
Well, let's get back. Let's get back to the whole idea of what Biden has really
Well,
brought.
it's not Biden per se. It's the Democratic Party. We don't have the time to go into the whole thing. I believe in the idea of the liberal Democratic Party versus what the Republicans are bringing to the sense. The thing that I disagree with, and I think we talked about it, is
Mhm.
that it's a shame that either party has not been able to get politicians or candidates that are more within the present generation. I have my boys are 20, well, now it's 27 and 29.
Mhm.
They don't relate to either candidates. I mean, Trump, what is he, 77 now? So when he's elected, he'll be 78. If he's elected, he'll be 82 when his term is up. Same thing, Biden is 81, he'll be 85. I mean,
Well,
even if not they're not, if their capacity is lessened, their energy is not there. I know as I got older, I
well,
don't
I
have
don't
the
know
energy.
about that. I've been watching Mr. Trump, and I am astounded at the fact that he can talk without a teleprompter for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah,
I
but
find that
he also
rather
has he also has they pick on Biden a lot, but he has a lot of slips also. If you see some of the runs, you may not see it on Fox. I see it on MSNBC. But getting back to democracy, which we started. So I do the absentee ballot, or at least for the primaries,
okay.
and we had the primary. So what's interesting is I'm not sure how much it's broadcast, back where you were, but Schiff has what he's been doing. He's been paying for broadcast, saying how bad Garvey is.
Well, what do you expect?
Well, no, no, well, but the reasoning is that he's doing it is because he wants more Republicans to vote for Garvey. So the two largest vote getters should be him and Garvey instead of him and I'm forgetting her name again, Katie Porter. She's
Yeah.
the second Democrat. So if it's him and Katie Porter, he has a harder race. But if it's him and Garvey, he's going to win the hands down. Because again, California is at this point a Democratic state. But
Uh,
anyway,
Cal- California is in complete chaos, and I say that as a registered member, a California native, and I left California because I could not put up with the one-sidedness of California politics and the politicians. I think you need to really make sure that the policies that you do make not only help the rich, but also help those of the middle class. We used to in California have a very, very healthy middle class. We no longer have it. That was one of the reasons that I was forced to move here to South Carolina, where there is a
But
good middle class.
you lived in one of the wealthier areas of California, or
Well,
Santa Barbara.
I lived in Dana Point. I lived then in Los Angeles, and
Yeah, but I mean,
yes,
before you moved, how many years have you lived in Santa Barbara?
I lived in Santa Barbara for about 3 years.
3 years, and before that,
And down in Dana Point.
that's another wealthy area. But
Well,
good.
not it's
I
middle
mean,
class.
it's good that you were able to afford the things, and yeah, things got more expensive here. You're right,
Mhm,
because it was the ideal state to come at one time, not necessarily for the cost, but because of the weather.
mhm.
Because I know that I think I told the story. I went to CCNY in New York,
Yep.
and I took a 2 hour train ride to from Brother and Coney Island. It was 2 hours, or 2.5 hours one way for me to go to school, and I had to walk uphill. I got off at 127th Street, and I had to walk uphill to 135th Street and Convent Avenue. One year I was out in California, and you said, like, in the wintertime it was snowing, and I'd walk uphill, and my outfit was a combat jacket with boots, and I wore a stocking hat, and I had a beard. Uh,
1960s.
yeah, first year in California,
Yep.
I was working at the KFAC, Classical Music Station, and I
Of
had a
course.
sales call in Pepperdine University, which is on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu. And I know I was just speaking to New York that weekend, and they were having a blizzard there.
Mhm.
And I knew, and I pictured myself going to school. I went to Pepperdine. It was like mid 70s, and it was one of those ideal California days. In the mid 70s, with the sun out, no clouds, it's fantastic. It's the perfect weather, as you know.
Yep.
And I see the kids walking around in cutoffs and t-shirts, and I pictured myself if I was back in New York. That's why one of the reasons I moved to California. That's why it became so expensive, because people liked living out here.
I know that, but the other reason it became so expensive is that there was only one party rule. It got to the point where the one party rule really destroyed the middle class.
No,
The middle class is gone
no,
in California.
part of it was our gas is higher. Why? Because they had a certain requirement that I forget what exactly it is, that they had to, especially the summer, they had to reduce, they had to take certain properties out of gas. Because when I came here, the air, this, well, just before I came here, I heard the smog was horrible. You couldn't walk in the streets.
Mhm,
And with the change of gas and changing the products, uh, the air became manageable.
mhm.
But anyway, believe it or not, we've run out of time.
Well, doggone it. Doggone it.
But the thing is, have you listened to what Trump has said recently? I mean,
I have. I have.
I don't know if there was another Republican that came in that I would like, because I really haven't heard that many. Yeah, in fact, who I liked before he became a Trumpite was Tim Scott,
Mhm.
and he sounded reasonable.
He is reasonable.
But then when he sort of pandered to Trump, when he knocked when he left the race, it was sort of like, oh my God. And at that one point you hadn't seen that, but take a look, see if you can see that when he dropped out of the race, and how he kowtowed to Trump and sort of say, okay, yeah, and Trump could say, like, kiss my ring.
Well, I think that is a wild exaggeration. I must say at this point right now here in South Carolina and many of the other states, 50 states in the union, there is a growing anger, a growing fury against what's going on and how the middle class has been stepped on and spit on. And
Well,
I
well,
have to tell you, I will tell you, there is an unbelievable anger that is
again,
swelling.
well,
And
well,
I
well,
tell you, something is going to happen, and I
it
know
might, it might,
it'll be legal. It'll be legal because at this point right now, you don't take advantage of the
but, but,
American people.
but I tell you what took advantage of the American people, the middle class and the poor. And I know the tax that Trump imposed. and then the knocking off the millionaires and the billionaires got the largest tax break ever. And I think what the balancing of the budget, I think the budget our debt went up by about $3 trillion, the highest it's ever been. And yes, there were certain benefits for the middle class, and you said you paid, less taxes. But in comparison to the deficit in the budget and the raising of the tariff and the raising of the debt, what you got back was nothing in comparison to trillion and or billionaires. That's
And
all I
when
have to say. It's our
and
show.
and when we look at the debt, it's gone up astronomically under the Biden administration.
No, it
And
hasn't. Take
really, I don't blame President Biden. I blame whoever's behind him right now pulling the strings. I think we're evidencing and we're seeing elder abuse here because he is certainly not the person that went into office in 2020. And something very odd is going on. And I do feel sorry for him. Next time that we'll talk, the transcripts have been released from Hunter Biden's
oh
testimony as
that
well as
between
Jim Biden's testimony. And
again,
we'll talk about the money laundering, and we'll talk about the influence borrowing.
we're not, as you say, if they had a good reason, why don't they really? Why wouldn't the Congress really impeach him? If there was, like you said, he is the head of the crime family, and he's been taking billions of dollars, him and Hunter. The only thing I really know is that, I mean, his biggest burden was having Hunter Biden as a son. Anyway, with that thing, you have a great week.
I will. And my
Read
love
the
to Anna.
newspapers. Watch MSNBC a little more.
Oh yeah, right. Enjoy Reed. Don't
Bye.
think so.
Now watch Rachel Maddow on. I think
Oh,
she's still
God.
on
Oh
Monday.
Lord.
Listen, I've listened to Sean Hannity just to see what he says, and I've
Yeah.
listened to whatever her name is, the blonde.
Laura Ingraham.
Laura Ingraham. And I used to work with Laura. She's a nice person
Very
individually.
nice. Yeah.
But
Very nice.
anyway, you have a great week. Send my love to Fish.
I will.
And I'll see you next Friday we're on.
Next Friday it is. We'll see everybody then. Bye bye now.
Bye.